Hey, if you have been struggling with any sort of pain, acheness, if you've been struggling with any sort of ache, pain, stiffness, soreness that have been going on for a little bit of time, I'm glad you're here. If you've been struggling with any sort of stiffness, ache, soreness, pain that's been going on, and you're thinking about going to the doctor to get an MRI, I'm so glad you're here because I want to talk to you all about this and maybe think about a way that you don't have to continue to go through a longer process such as that, and talk to you about a new approach that a lot of people are taking these days, which is called direct access. But honestly, if you've been struggling for a little while and you're really contemplating if you should go to the hospital, go to the doctor, do something like that, then I'm glad that you're here, because it's more than likely that you could benefit from a video like this and a little bit of my teaching. I'm going to teach you here today, right on my whiteboard, right here on this table, which is really cool. I'm going to be helping you understand a little bit about what you might be able to do differently for yourself that can help you get faster results, quicker time as far as out of pain goes. Hey, if you've been struggling with any sort of pain, such as back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, anything like that that's going on, I'm so glad you're here today, because if you've been thinking about going to the doctor, going to go get an MRI, having an image done on that, I really want you to think about maybe taking a little bit of a different approach and talking about what that might have to look like for you to make sure that you're getting out of pain and finding relief faster with better results on top of it. So, hi, my name is Dr. Brooke. I am a doctor of physical therapy, co-owner of the Physio Revolution. I'm going to be teaching you all about a different method that might be able to help you, and on top of it, a different model that a lot of people are utilizing to help themselves get out of pain. So without further ado, I want to get started. I'm going to teach you right here live on this webinar so you can make sure that you can understand what your options are moving forward when you address your pain from here on. All right, so I want to teach you the old approach. And the old approach goes something like this, where you started to have pain, right? So let's say you have knee pain. I'm just using a joint for any purposes. Let's say that's a bad knee, guys, but you know what? That's how we're drawing the knee today. Let's say you have a big pain episode with knee. You didn't necessarily do anything to it. You kind of felt it come on, or it maybe took a little time, and you started to just notice that your knee started bothering you while you're doing maybe like stairs, or you were hiking, or maybe while you're running, and something just kind of started to come on for you. Such as during an activity, and now it's not really going away at this point. So this is kind of the old approach that a lot of people will go through. So second stage after you typically have knee pain is what most people will end up doing. They'll end up going to the doctor of some sort. If that's your primary care physician, if that's a new doctor, if that's to the hospital, different stuff like that. So you'll end up going to some level of doctor. Typically, what that ends up being for a lot of people is your PCP or your primary care physician. Right? And then after that, your doctor, your primary care says, hey, you know what? You really need to go see somebody like a specialist, right? So you go see a specialist, somebody who is a little bit more specialized in the knee specifically. So you go see a knee specialist, and at that time, then they say to you, you know, in order for us to know what's going on with you, we've got to be able to take you and do some imaging. So they put you in a little bit of this tube, right? Send you off to this, oh, this is a bad MRI, guys. But they're wanting to do some sort of x-ray or imaging of that sort, right? And so that's kind of the next step for a lot of people when they go here. Then after that, right, so you get the results, you get all that stuff, and then you've got to go back to that, either that knee specialist, or you've got to go back to the doctor again, right? Your primary care physician. So you'll have either or that you're kind of going to go talk about these results that came out after you were diagnosed with something on your image, right? So then you go back to your doctor of some level, whoever that is that you go see again. Typically it's the specialist because they want to review it. And then what happens is they're going to refer you at that point, typically, most times, they're going to refer you to a nice person such as maybe myself, and they're going to say, hey, you need to go see a really nice physical therapist, right? Because this is not a big issue. I think you can get out of pain with just some physical therapy, right? And that's your prescription that they give you here. So you go then to a physical therapist at that point. What we know about this old approach is it typically takes so much time, right? The moment you have pain, it takes you a while to actually make that appointment, and on top of it to say, oh, that's not really going away. And when you do call, right, we're talking about time frame with this as far as being somewhere between, for most people, 7 to 30 days. Right, before you can get in and even see your primary care. Then even on top of it, a knee specialist, same idea, at least a month for most people at this point. So we got 30 days on top of that. Then to get your MRI, you can at least expect to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get your MRI. Sometimes they're a little quicker, right? But on top of that, with results coming back, that's what it's going to take. Then you have to wait a couple more weeks to actually get in and see your doctor again. So we're talking about at least, guys, 3 months at this point. Then you make your referral, and you have to probably wait a week to 2 weeks to get into a physical therapist. So we're talking about a total time of all of this being roughly around 3 to 4 months, as far as trying to get yourself to a point where you have solutions and waiting to actually just address this knee pain that you have, right? So I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that, and overall, a lot of people aren't either. So the new method, let me teach you the new method. Pretty cool. We're gonna go purple here, right? So all we're gonna do on the new method, very simple, guys. We're gonna have one line drawn, right? The new method or the new approach for a lot of people and what they're using is literally we just draw a line to here. So now you might be asking, right? I just go to a physical therapist. How are they going to ever know what I need on my MRI or my X-ray? And I think that's one of the valid points that a lot of people come up with is saying, you know, I need to know what my image says. I need to know what's going on with that. So we talk a lot about in physical therapy at our place, at the Physio Revolution, we talk a lot about getting down to root causes. And sometimes what the root cause isn't necessarily what you think it is. And I'm going to talk about that right now. So here we are, guys. We're looking at a slide that I typically show a lot of people, which is called You're Not Your Image. And I think that's a little bit kind of scary to some people to think about how you might not need imaging to help you, and how imaging just in general has become a little bit of this this little scare tactic for a lot of people to worry about what they have going on. And not to say we shouldn't utilize this, and it should be, x-rays and MRIs and scans should be utilized in a sense that is going to be helpful in certain situations. But for a lot of people who didn't maybe have a traumatic event or something that is pretty abrupt or new in a sense, but is more like a typical kind of ache, stiffness, soreness, or pain, then this is what we're talking about with a lot of people. So I'm going to focus in just even on this one where my mouse cursor is right here. So I want to talk about knees since we were talking about knees. I'm also going to talk a little bit about backs because that's something a lot of people want to talk about too, and one of the top things that we address as well. So this study, really fast, just kind of showed us in a nutshell how frequent it is to have some sort of deficits, if you would, in your image. So this was a systematic review, really cool study. I'm going to nerd out for just 1 second, but make it very easy for you to understand. They took 5,400 people, a little bit shy. I'm just going to do some rounded numbers here for you guys. 5,400 people with a knee issue. And they divided them by age. They want to know who was greater than 40 or who was less than 40 years old. And then they wanted to see how these 5,400 people that they took, according to their age, what's the likelihood that they have different diagnoses. And 3 of the most prevalent ones, which I think most people are most concerned about, were osteoarthritis or arthritic changes, cartilage changes, such as a defect in your cartilage that people might find, and meniscal tears. These are pretty common things that when people have aches and pains that just come on with their knee, when you do an image, these are typical to find. So they wanted to see what the prevalence was, especially as they age and in the younger years between 40 above and 40 below. Here's the findings, guys. So osteoarthritis or arthritis, right? 19 to 43% of them had some sort of arthritic changes when they were older than 40 years old. statistically speaking, that's really high, right? So that's a really large sum of people as far as out of 5,400 people. And under the age of 40 years old, 4 to 14% of that 5,400 people had arthritic changes already in their knees at less than 40 years old, right? And then we can see from here, cartilage defect, 43% of the 5,400 people had cartilage issues if they were greater than 40, and 11, we'll just say 10% to make it easy, of the 5,400 people, which, if you do the math, 540 people under the age of 40 had cartilage defects. Now here's the kicker, a lot of people worry about meniscal tears. I think I have a meniscal tear, right? At least, I'm gonna round up 20%, because math is easier when we round up, at least 20% of the 5,400 people had meniscal tears. Now, Brooke, why does this matter, right? Okay, so they found some things, that's great. Now here's the kicker about this study, guys. Here's the big thing. All of these people had no pain. No pain whatsoever. So all of these people that were finding these changes inside of 5,400 images that they were able to take under the age of 40, over the age of 40, all of this stuff was happening with people without pain. That's a huge study to know, right? And on top of it, let's go over to another one that was done. They took 90 people and they had some knee symptoms or some pain, aching, and stiffness, as it says in here, right? And they did an MRI and they wanted to see what was on it as far as meniscal tears. 63% of the 90 people, so 57 out of 90, had a meniscus tear. Well, then they said, okay, well, let's take other people without these symptoms, right? They call it without frequent knee symptoms or without pain, aching, stiffness, right? They took 77 people. 60% of them still had a meniscal tear, but they had no knee symptoms. So this begs the question as far as, is this your root cause, right? And I like to think of this a lot just like I do with many things. It's kind of like wrinkles on the outside. When you age, you get wrinkles, but you have some on your inside as well. And they don't have to be painful. When you smile because you have wrinkles on your face, it doesn't hurt when you smile, right? And inside your body, it's no different that you have some wrinkles on the inside. Let's look at some more wrinkles, because this is all about a study about the back. As far as that goes, I want you to know that there's a lot of numbers on here. I'm going to break them down. Just listen to my voice more than you look at that image right there. But what they did was they took a large sum of people, and they took over 3,000 people in this study. And they broke them up just like the other one. They broke them up to their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, 50s, 60s. They actually did them in decades, right? Instead of kind of above 40, below 40. They actually broke them up by age group. So you can probably find your age group as I go through this. And then they wanted to find, again, what's the prevalence of having that? What's the likelihood of having it? And how many people actually have that of the 3,000 plus people, right? So if let's just take somebody who's down the middle, age 50, disc degeneration or breakdown of a disc, right? Some changes of the disc, 80% chance that you're having that at the age of 50. 88% chance that you're having that at the age of 60. 93. Continued, right? Now here's the kicker about all these people. Again, no symptoms. No symptoms whatsoever of back pain, right? And then we go to a disc bulge, which is a common one as well. At the age of 50, you have a 60% chance of likelihood of having that. 69%. 77%, and the list just keeps going and on and on. Now again, these were people who were put through imaging and they had absolutely no pain, but the prevalence of having a disc bulge at the age of 50 was a 60% chance, 77% chance. I mean, the list just keeps going on and on. A little degeneration or a facet, which is a joint in your spine, multiple joints, but an area of your spine, right? So you break down arthritic changes at the age of 60, 50% chance, right? And you can just kind of read these numbers and see. Now again, it still begs the question, is it just wrinkles on the inside? Because a lot of these people don't even have pain when we're talking about your imaging. So sometimes imaging is helpful, sometimes it isn't. When I talk about that, we go back to this kind of new method. That's why a lot of times we tell people when they call us and they don't necessarily want to go through this whole approach of doctor, and I might even insert inside of this, right? If you go see a specialist, they might do an MRI, but they might also give you some pain pills, right? And that might happen over here too. right, with your PCP, they also might say, oh, you need an injection first, right? And then the other option is they say, well, that won't help, only surgery is going to help, right? And they actually just kind of bypass, so I'll leave it that way. They'll actually just bypass this and they won't even give you a physical therapy appointment sometimes too. Pretty rare, but for the most part, what I want you to know is like those are alternative options, and a lot of people that we see don't want to go down this route or continue to go down that route for that matter, and they'd rather go see a physical therapist directly. So I hope that was informational for you, and I hope you understand a little bit about this this method that we do, which is now you don't have to go through this whole 3-month, 4-month process to even just get diagnosed, get to where you need to go, which is typically for most people just see a specialist. Make sure that you know exactly how they need to approach that. I'm going to talk more about that and around what that approach needs to look like as well for you. But if you're having pains, aches, and stiffness, and you want to talk directly to a physical therapist, we're here. You can book your call. You can get started with one of our team members, talk all about what's been going on with your pain. We'll talk about the options you have moving forward. Make sure that it's a good fit before we take the next steps with you, before any commitments are made. But overall, if you are struggling and you're kind of waiting on some appointments and you're ready to take action, you're ready to get going, by all means reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you. One of my awesome team members will be in touch with you soon. So that's a little bit of the old approach versus the new approach. We'll talk to you soon. Book your call if you need help with your pain right now.